Hello everyone, Ember Power here, and welcome back to a new video. In this one I'm going to be taking a look at the rather strange free deck that you get on PTCG Live, and that is going to be Suicune V. So Suicune V, along with several other decks, are just free for you when you start up a new account on TCG Live, which is really nice. However, like many of the other decks, Suicune V is basically an unfinished deck. If you compare it to something like Inteleon VMAX is actually a good pick. You only get two lines of like the key Pokemon, so Inteleon, you only get a 2-2 line. I think it's Shadow Rider as well that you only get a 2-2 line. Yeah, 2-2. So what it basically does is it encourages new players to try and craft extra copies of cards to make the decks more consistent, which is, to be fair, it is pretty smart. Like, I'm glad they kind of incentivize that or make that more of an incentive. But, it's a bit awkward as well because obviously credits are pretty precious and you don't really want to be spending credits to upgrade a free deck. That's probably not terribly great to begin with. But Suicune V falls into that weird category where, even though I think the deck is pretty mid, especially this list, the deck itself is actually better than most of the other starter decks. So Suicune V, just as an overview, I'll just view it in this deck because if I go to edit deck, it messes up like all the Pokemon in order and stuff, which is really weird. So yeah, I'll just use this viewer. And unfortunately, of course, there is no way to full view a deck on TCG Live. I really don't know why they did this. But essentially, if you want to do a deck profile video now, you have to do it in this little corner, which is like, what, not even half of the screen. So yeah, really annoyed that they did this. But yeah, Suicune V, very weird deck because you get a 1-1 line of Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX. So let's see if that resolution actually improves. Yeah, there we go. So Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX, 320 HP, pretty decent card overall. Has the attack Ride of the High King that does 10 damage and then 30 more for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Then it also has the attack Max Lance, which does 10 damage, and then you may discard 2 energy to do a 220 more damage for each card you discard in this way. So Ice Rider is a pretty good attacker overall, but the only problem is you get a 1-1 line, which is just really inconsistent and really bad. So at the best of times, this is obviously not going to be making much of a splash in most games. I don't use it in most games. I've played over 12 games with this deck currently, but I haven't used Ice Rider more than once. So yeah, it is pretty strange. You also get a Ludicolo line, which is really nice because Lotad has Call for Family, allowing you to search your deck for up to 2 basic Pokemon, which is really nice. You also get 2 Lombre, which has the ability top entry that says once in your turn, if you choose Pokemon from your hand at the start of the turn, you can just put it onto the bench, which is just really nice because it also means you can then, of course, evolve it into the Ludicolo, which we do get 3 copies of, with the ability Enthusiastic Dance that says when you place Pokemon to evolve one of your Pokemon, including when you use Rare Candy, actually, your basic Pokemon's attacks do plus 100 damage. So it essentially acts as an extra bench Pokemon while also buffing your attacks by 100. So Blizzard Rondo can basically do plus 100, which is really nice. So yeah, Suicune V, kind of like the main attacker of the deck, but you only get 2 copies of it. So it just becomes really awkward really quickly. Fleet-footed is obviously a great ability. Once in your turn, this Pokemon's the active spot, you just get to draw a card. Very efficient card overall, but yeah, pretty strange list. Anything else really to talk about is the fact that we have a 1-1 line of Swablu Altaria. I really like Altaria with Suicune. Has the ability Tempting Tune that says once your turn you may search your deck for support a card, reveal it, shuffle your deck, and then put that card on top of it. So what you can do is you can just find a Melanie or Raihan so you can chain Suicunes more effectively. So I do think Altaria is definitely one of the better support Pokemon in the deck. So I'll probably, if I have to save Pokemon wise, I would try and remove a Pumpkaboo maybe, because I don't think you realistically need Pumpkaboo. You probably need Crobat because the draw support is so weak in this deck. But yeah, minus Pumpkaboo, maybe even minus Zigzagoon, honestly, and just find a way of getting more Swablu Altaria into the deck. And of course, extra copies of Suicune. But the deck kind of doesn't really make its mind up if it wants to be a Suicune Ice Rider deck or a Suicune Ludicolo deck. And to further exemplify that, the deck doesn't give you any rare candies. That should be a given, especially when you're trying to use a Ludicolo more than once a game, but ultimately it's such a strange deck in that regard that you don't actually get any copies of rare candy. I know you get rare candy in the Decidueye deck, so if we go over here to Decidueye Inteleon, you could, move some of those rare candies over to the Suicune deck, which is fine, I guess. But yeah, also worth noting that you could play Suicune Inteleon Ludicolo, which is definitely going to be a better deck to build. So, if you're looking to upgrade the Suicune deck, then that's what I would say, is that obviously shift the entire line over to Suicune and then just remove all the filler. But yeah, Suicune, interesting deck overall, but you do need the rare candies, I think, especially if you're planning on playing this deck post-rotation, then you definitely need the rare candies. But yeah, pretty wild. As for the rest of the trainers and the supporters, nothing too crazy. Stuff like Capacious Bucket is nice, but you only get one copy of it. 3 Level Ball, 3 Evolution Incense, 4 Quick Ball, 1 Ordinary Rod, and then 2 Scuba Net. So ideally we need 3 Scuba Net really, so we can like loop up the Ludicolo and essentially reuse them. Otherwise we have to manually evolve every single Ludicolo, assuming we don't get top entry. So yeah, that's really frustrating. 1 Raihan, which is essentially a buffed version of Melanie if one of your Pokemon were knocked out. But Melanie is definitely like the heart and soul of this deck. Attach a Water Energy card from your discard pile to one of your Vs. If you do, draw 3 cards. Just nice draw power. Also means that you can Altaria for it and then use Fleet Footage to draw it. Then use Melanie to accelerate energy. With this bearing in mind, you can also power up an Ice Rider VMAX out of nowhere, but you just will have to be on the bench for at least one turn, so the opponent will probably see it coming. But either way, it could be like a bit of a red herring, I guess, for the opponent to boss up that. But yeah, pretty interesting in that regard. We also see 2 Capes of Toughness. Our basic Suicunes can get plus 50 HP. It's okay. I know there's definitely some decks like Arceus that can do 180, and sometimes they throw a Choice Belt in there to do even more damage, so that can be pretty annoying. So having a Cape of Toughness is quite nice. Then we also see Choice Belt, which is probably like the better tool card, honestly, allowing you to do plus 30 more damage, so only get 1 copy of them, which is really annoying. You also only get 8 copies of energy, 7 basic energy, and 7 basic energy, and that's 3 capture energy, I believe. So yeah, I suppose the energy is a bit better than I thought it was. For some reason I thought it was a lot less than that, but yeah, I don't feel like you ever really have enough energy when I'm playing this deck, which is strange, but yeah, it's a strange deck overall, honestly. Like, I'm not sure what else to say about Suicune v Altera. The funny thing is, if you do well enough on the ladder, then once you get to tier, I want to say it's tier 50, but I'll have to check on the battle pass in a second, is that you do get the, not this deck, what is this? Something weird I made. No, here it is. The Palkia deck from the World Championships, I think this was the seniors division, and you do actually get this better water deck, which is essentially just Suicune, but better. So you get Carbomel, you get a 3-3 Palkia line, you get Radiant Greninja even, which you can put in Suicune if you really like Suicunes, but obviously you get the entire line, which is really nice. You also get some better trainers like Battle VFB Pass, Cross Switchers, even get a Path to the Peak, Roxanne. You also get Arita as well, which is really good in Suicune, allowing you to find stuff like Ludicolo, Rare Candy, so that's also really nice to consider. And if I just go back to home and then I look at the Battle Pass, if I just see where it was that you get the rewards, I think it's tier 25, yeah. So if you unlock tier 25, then you get 3 Crown Zenith packs, 100 credits, and then this Palkia deck. So that's pretty cool to see. Also, bear in mind that if you bought the Battle Pass, which is, or the Premium Pass, I should say, for 600 crystals, which is worth it every single time, I think, then you also get this deck when you reach, tier 25, which is amazing. This is like max rarity Mew VMAX. Definitely one of the most broken decks in standards, so I know this was supposed to be a Suicune video and I've gone off a bit of a tangent, but yeah, something to bear in mind if you reach tier 25. But yeah, pretty cool overall. It's also worth noting that in the shop, if you scroll down on the bundles page, which I suppose we could go do that now, I'm not really pushed for time. If I go to bundles and then I go view all bundles, and if I scroll down far enough, the problem is I don't actually remember where it is. It's quite near the bottom if I had to take a guess though. Oh, there it is. Scroll back up. Yeah, you can actually buy an Ice Rider deck, but it is for 1,250 crystals, which is very expensive. The deck itself isn't like too crazy. I know this has like a weird way of organizing the cards, so if some of them are hard to see, I do apologize. But yeah, if you really wanted like some kind of Inteleon thicker line of Ice Rider, then I guess you could purchase this, but realistically, I don't think you need to do that. Honestly, I wouldn't recommend buying these decks. I think you can just upgrade the ones you have currently and they'll be fine, but yeah, interesting overall. Anything else to say about Suicune V? No, not really. It's a pretty strange list. I just keep thinking about how strange this deck is and why there's no like rare candies and why the deck's not more consistent. But yeah, I guess let me know what you think about Suicune down below. Major points, my avatar being the creepiest one ever. But yeah, let me know what you think down below. It's been Power, and yeah, thank you for watching.